This video will be divided into the following chapters. What are the main investments in Brazil? What are the divisions and comparisons of each asset? Which sites to follow? What is the tax secret? What are the risks? And where can you access Brazilian investments? First, let's understand what the main investments in Brazil are and their differentiators. Ações, fundos imobiliários, CDB, Tesouro Direto. We have ações, which is the same as shares, where you become a partner in the largest companies in Latin America. Now notice these stocks. Vale 3, Peter 3, Peter 4, iTube 4, Vale 5, Sula 11. Notice that each code has a number at the end. Shares that end with the number 3 are called common shares. They give you the right to vote at the company's meetings. For example, Peter 3, equivalent in the United States, it is what they call common stock. The advantage is that they have 100% tag-along protection in case of company sale. However, those that end with the number 4 are called preferred shares. These typically do not grant voting rights in most cases, but have preference in receiving dividends. For example, Peter 4, equivalent in the United States, do not confuse with American preferred stock, which seems like a hybrid of fixed income. In Brazil, the PN is a regular stock, but focused on those who want income. Historically, shares that end in 4 are the most traded because they have greater liquidity and in many cases pay slightly higher dividends. Imagine that you want to invest in Petrobras. You will see two codes, Peter 3 and Peter 4. If you are an institutional investor who wants a say in the company's decisions, you choose Peter 3. But if you are like most investors looking for passive income and liquidity, your choice will be Peter 4. It is the favorite among individual investors because it prioritizes the payment of its monthly or quarterly dividends. Here is the definitive guide to Brazilian stock numbers. 3 are the common shares, right to vote and tag along. X, Vale 3, iTube 3. 4 are the preferred shares, preference in receiving dividends and greater liquidity. X, Peter 4, iTube 4. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are different classes of preferred shares. They are variations of the preferred share. PNA, PNB, PNC. Some companies, like Vale, Val 5, Old, or energy companies, LET 6, use these numbers to differentiate specific dividend rights. 11 units. A package that combines common and preferred shares. X, SUL 11, KLBN 11. We have FIIs, which are real estate investment funds. They are the equivalents of REITs. They are the favorites around here because, unlike American REITs that usually pay quarterly, FIIs pay monthly dividends. It is a powerful strategy for generating passive income with an average return of 1% per month. All FII codes end with the number 11. For example, HGLG 11. Here is the big difference. As while the American market is focused on growth, the Brazilian market is focused on cash flow. The real estate investment funds, FIIs, deposit money into your account every month with a yield that often reaches 12% per year, something extremely rare to find in properties in the United States today. So I recommend that you stay until the end of the video where I will show you some examples of monthly dividend payments, and believe me, this could save your retirement or even help you buy a house or a car faster. We also have ETFs. These need no introduction, as they work the same way as the index funds you already trade in the United States, functioning exactly like the index funds you already trade on the NYSE or NASDAQ, allowing you to buy the entire market at once, just like you do with the S&P 500, which is an excellent asset for long-term investors. And if you are looking for the security of banks, we have the CDB, which is the direct equivalent to your CD, certificate of deposit. The operation is identical. You lend money to a Brazilian bank to finance its operations, and in return, you receive interest for it. But there are two advantages in Brazil that will impress you. The first is daily liquidity. While in the United States, CDs usually lock your money for 6 months, 1 year or more, in Brazil, it is very common to find CDBs with daily liquidity. In other words, your money earns much more than a regular savings account, but you can withdraw it at any time. And secondly, the FGC. Always remember to check if you are afraid to invest in foreign banks. Know that Brazil has the FGC Credit Guarantee Fund. It works exactly like your FDIC. It protects the investor up to 250,000 reais per institution, approximately $50,000. If the bank fails, the FGC pays you the invested amount plus interest. And believe me, this case happened in Brazil recently, and I can assure you that it really works when the master bank failed. In summary, it is the conservatism you already know, but with the profitability and flexibility that only the Brazilian market offers today. And now we have arrived at the investor's safe harbor, the Tesouro Direto. In the United States, you know them as US Treasuries. The concept is the same. You lend money to the government in exchange for interest. But here's the reality check. While a 10-year American Treasury is considered attractive when it pays 4% or 5% per year, in Brazil, public bonds often pay in double digits. We are talking about 10%. 12% or even more per year with the sovereign guarantee of the country. In Brazil, we have three main categories that you need to know. The Selic Treasury, the equivalent of your high-yield savings or money market funds, but with daily liquidity and linked to our basic interest rate. The IPCA Plus Treasury. It is our TIPS, Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. It ensures that your money earns above inflation plus a fixed real interest rate. It is the favorite investment for those thinking about long-term retirement. The fixed rate treasury, where you lock in a fixed rate like 14% per year and know exactly how much you will receive at maturity, regardless of what happens in the market. Now, I will give you the best websites to track investments in stocks, REITs, CDBs, and direct treasury, as Brazilian investors mainly use portfolio consolidators and fundamental analysis portals. For analysis in stocks and real estate funds, these platforms allow you to view all assets in an integrated manner, often with automatic integration via B3. The Status Invest site, widely used to consult fundamental indicators, historical dividends, and automatically track portfolio profitability. However, the Investidor10 website, focused on indicator analysis, offers a free portfolio manager, goal charts, and a history of dividends, fixed income, and specialized. The Treasury Direct website, official site and app to track public securities, make new purchases, and consult the detailed earnings statement. I will leave the link in the description for you to follow. Now let's move on to the fiscal part, and this deserves your like. Here's what almost no one tells you, and is the biggest incentive for you to invest your money in Brazil right now. The privileged tax treatment for foreigners. Unlike us Brazilians, who pay 15% tax on profits from the sale of stocks, you, as a non-resident investor who does not live in a tax haven, have total exemption. Capital gains, tax, 0% for foreigners in stock market transactions, B3. Dividends. Currently, stock dividends in Brazil are exempt at the source for everyone, but foreigners have the extra security of international treaties to avoid double taxation. Real estate funds. While it is exempt for Brazilians, there is usually a 15% withholding for foreigners. But think about it. With a yield of 12% per year, even with the tax, your net return is still absurdly higher than almost any REIT in the United States. In Brazil, the government rewards foreign investors to bring capital to the country. It's a competitive advantage that you don't have by only investing in the S&P 500. And now there are risks and intelligent diversification. Investing in emerging markets is not just about high returns, it's about risk management. The biggest fear of every American is the exchange. The real is a more volatile currency than the dollar. If the real depreciates by 10% and your investment yields 10%, you break even in dollars. In Brazil, the rates of 12% to 14% per year serve as a safety margin against exchange rate fluctuations. Additionally, by investing in companies like Vale with the code VEL3, you are investing in a company that earns in dollars, which naturally protects you. Investing in Brazil is not betting against the United States. It is ensuring that you have exposure to a market that pays dividends while the rest of the world struggles for 2% growth per year. Now that you know where to invest, the question is how? How can an American invest money in the B3 without having to travel to Brazil? There are 3 levels of access depending on your goal. The easy way is Interactive Brokers. If you want convenience and to invest directly in B3, Interactive Brokers, IBKR, is the best choice. You can open an account with your Social Security and buy Brazilian stocks and some ETFs directly on their platform. The advantage is that you don't need a Brazilian bank or a CPF to start trading assets on the Brazilian stock exchange there. The professional way is the local brokers and account 4373. If your focus is on the monthly cash flow of the REITs or the interest from the direct treasury, you will need a local account for non-residents. Brokerages like BTG Pactual and XP Investimentos have international desks specialized in foreign investors. You will need a CPF. The good news? You can get your CPF completely online and for free through the Federal Revenue website and the Brazilian consulate. I will leave the link in the description. Brazil is one of the largest powers in generating passive income in the world. If you are looking for double-digit interest and monthly dividends that American REITs cannot deliver, the Brazilian market is your next destination. I will leave the official links here in the description. If this video helped you understand that the world is bigger than the S&P 500, don't forget to leave your like. And if you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will leave this other video in case you are thinking about exploring other types of extra income besides investing in the Brazilian and American stock markets. See you in the next video.